Live.
Golden evening, golden afternoon, or golden new day to you. If you're watching this for the first time, we want to welcome you to the show. This is Golden Opportunity Sundays with Miss Asha Rae, and I am joined by friends. This is Golden Opportunity Sundays with Miss Asha Rae and friends. So tonight I've brought some new friends to the platform to share with us some ideas about what's going on. Like, I know that everyone's been talking about a lot of different things, concerning coronavirus, concerning that global economic reset and things like that. But we just wanted to bring some ideas your way, and talk about the reevaluation of everything. Because right now we got to reevaluate any and everything. So we want to have a little fun with it. We're also going to be dealing with some serious topics. But we got to laugh through this, right? We got to be able to keep our sense of humor. We got to be able to smile and remember who we are. So I want to also thank the brother Knowledge Born Allah for holding it down behind the scenes. And we wanted to call him to the forefront tonight because he's quite the insightful one and also full of lots of jokes. He had us laughing backstage. So thank you, and again, welcome everybody to the show.
Peace.
We're joined this evening by my sister, Goddess Yabael, and we're also joined by my brother, King Kyle Christiansen. These are two amazing individuals who have their own, perspectives and insights on some things. So I asked them this evening to join me and share with us and the brother Knowledge Born Allah about reevaluation.
You're just gonna forget about Marcus Garvey on the wall. He's present. Okay, he's here. He's watching.
Oh, you know this.
He said he got something to say.
Speak to him, brother. Speak.
Look. Sister Yaba said she out. Okay, she said what she had to say already before we even got started. Okay, she said she's standing mute. You understand? Shout out to my boys out there.
The power is silent.
At this particular time, she can stand in mute. You understand? Hold on.
My goodness.
Show my button right here. I got my button right here too. So don't be, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Me and the prophet.
Does that mean you official or what? See, we gotta have to reevaluate some things. I don't know. I don't know.
We need to reevaluate these buttons right here. You see that? Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You understand? Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey on the
You know what? Seriously, we need to start going back to some of their knowledge and their teachings and gather what they left us along the way. Because there's a lot of valuable information that's being passed over, probably because of over familiarity or thinking that you know something that you don't really know, right? Without really checking into it. Have you guys had that experience?
Right. Yeah, right.
I mean, about even myself personally.
He said eat one meal a day and one meal every 3 days. What kind of crisis would you be in right now if you knew how to fast? How could you be in a situation where you devoid or you divested or you without? You wouldn't be without. You understand what I'm saying? You would be in a space to yourself, already having just simply with something simple like that, one meal a day. You see, so your children wouldn't be at home because you're terrified and petrified of eating you out of house or home because y'all eating one meal a day together. You understand? It's that simple. Or one meal every 3 days. So when you get advanced in your self-mastery path, this is what he was saying. Because we see crime, we see death, we see devastation based upon situation of I'm just trying to eat, son. You understand? I'm just trying to eat. No, he took that away from the laborers. He took that away from their mind. You see what I'm saying? Look, if you was just practicing them principles, you wouldn't worry about that the movie theater ain't open because you wasn't going in the first place. You see what I'm saying? You wasn't going in the first place. So that one meal a day, you at home with your family, everybody fit, everybody righteous, skin looking good. You have economic surplus to invest in golden opportunities if you was just following something simple as fasting. See that?
True that. How about this though? When I first heard that you need to eat to live, not live to eat, I was flabbergasted. I said, you know what? Um, guilty as charged. You know what I mean? Like, live to, living to eat, but it's a eat to live, not live to eat. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. You know what I mean? Like, because I would even have called myself like a connoisseur of fine foods and drinks and things like that, just because of the social aspect of it and like trying new things and stuff like that. But when I heard that, it put a lot of different things in perspective. And I began to think about like, wow, where I'm so far off base. And like, even looking at me as so-called conscious as I am, even during that time, this was like some years ago, probably over 12, 13 years ago when I first heard this. But I was ignorant, very ignorant to that fact. And I was like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm this far off base, imagine how far off the other people are. You feel me? Like, ooh, so it just had me reshape my thinking about food in general, like, okay, so that is the case. And that's the truth. It don't matter. Nobody could refute that. You feel me? Like, I heard that it's like, you got to eat to live, not live to eat. And that's like a culture that we've been born into, especially in the United States, just like everything that you see gravitate towards it. You can have a surplus of whatever you want, everything your eyes and, hands can touch. You feel me what I'm trying to say?
That's supposed to be a sign of success, like a sign of elevation, a sign of making it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why they in the stores trying to get all of that toilet paper. Because toilet paper is the
It's a
cure for
status
coronavirus.
symbol.
You
And it's
understand?
a symbol
It's a status
of
symbol. All that you could get all that toilet paper.
success.
But if you looked at your diet and you took a chance at your liver, you understand, you wouldn't be having so much need for all of the toilet paper. Again, fasting, eating once a day, once every 3 days. We got political prisoners. This is what they have implemented and put into practice in their daily life to survive solitary confinement for 20,
Indeed.
30 years. You see what I'm saying? So this is not just a skill or a tool that has health benefits. It also is there for your holistic wellness. Because you're talking about mental health, being in a situation where you're segregated, from the population because you're labeled a certain kind of way. You see what I'm saying? So you're in isolation. So now you're looking at it as a blessing versus a curse, depending on where your mind is. You see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
this.
Ooh, I'm sorry, brother, but we don't have like a
Go
cue
ahead.
button or something. I just want to say, I want to chime in on
This
what
your
he's
show.
saying.
I know I'm normally at the door. You talking about come in here today. You understand what I'm
Oh yeah, I
saying?
love
So,
it. He got me thinking though about how you said that they see their isolation and their, confinement or whatever restriction as a blessing, or some people have found that, mindset where I'm going to turn this confinement and isolation into a blessing. But how are we out here seeing this coronavirus quarantine mandatory lockdown right now? How are you viewing this? I'm curious. If you're watching the show right now on these platforms, please type in there like how you see this. Like, what is this time of isolation and quarantine and mandatory lockdown doing for you, or how are you feeling about it? And then I'm going to ask my guest. Um, Brother Kyle, I think I would like to ask you first.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you seeing this lockdown and this quarantine and this time of isolation? Is it a blessing or is it a curse? What is it? How do you feel about it?
Um, it's a blessing for some who are prepared uh, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Those are in tune with the Most High. If you are taking those precautions, and not precautions, you're taking those actual steps um, to take care of your physical self. Most people don't do that because just, we're all visual. You understand? Um, it depends on what you do with the time. This can be a very great learning curve for most, or it could be disaster for others. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I lost you. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry about that. Lost you for a second.
We got you.
You can still hear me now. I'm losing. Sorry. Let me go back. Let me go back. Go back. Okay, here we go.
We can still hear you.
Like I
Just
was saying, it can
FYI.
be a great learning curve for others. It can be a great learning curve for others, or for others, it can be disastrous because, like I said, most people can fall into a situation where you're panicking, which that can add to mental stress and physical stress, and that can also affect you health wise. It can make you sick quicker by worrying about this or that, by worrying about what I don't have versus what you do have, because you're always looking at, most people are always looking at what they don't have as opposed to what they actually do have on hand. If you're not taking care of yourself physically, for instance, your body should always be in constant progressive motion. Whether you're weight training, bodybuilding, you don't necessarily need a gym for that. As long as you're in motion, if you're doing a couple laps around the track or some calisthenics, that's helpful. If your food choices are correct. When this whole thing started, for instance, so many people were panicking. Oh, getting into fights over toilet paper and hand sanitizer and hoarding this and hoarding that. And I literally laughed at the calamity because most people, especially not of color, if you will, you've had so much time. Let's really break it down. You've had 400 years of privilege granted to you. Your 400 years are up. So now you're panicking. Everybody's under the gun. So now it doesn't matter if you are a multi-millionaire or just under being a millionaire or billionaire. Now the playing field is level. So now what you gonna do? You can't do nothing. Your money doesn't mean anything. You know, it's your health and your mental well-being and your spiritual edification that's going to allow you to withstand something like this, albeit what's happening now is a precursor to something bigger.
I'm going to stop you right there. My apologies, but I'm going to just stop you right there for now, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate those comments. Sister, I want to come to you before we address the comment that just came forth. And I want to hear from you. How has this time of quarantine and time of isolation been for you, and how do you see it? Sister Rosalind Gabael.
Oh, okay. Greetings. How everybody doing? Wow, it's a great topic. Well, I must say, I look at the quarantine, academic or pandemic or whatever. I look at that as solitude, personally for myself. I really can't speak for other people, but I can just, share my experience, what I've come to understand and come to learn. I look at the quarantine as solitude for me. And it's something that I'm used to doing anyway. I'm used to being in a solitude state. And I've been doing it, practicing, not even actually practicing, but, putting it into action for a long time. My solitude state of quote unquote quarantine started for me back in 2013. And it also came along with, eating different pork and meat and, fast food, sodas and drinks and stuff like that. So the quarantine, it doesn't bother me, because I'm used to sitting still, I'm used to, educating myself and reading and learning and, taking notes and, and just being in a peace state of mind, and through the changing of, and I try not to use the word diet, because I look at the word diet, those three words in the middle says die, so changing, what I eat, eat to live, it's that quote that Elijah Muhammad talks about. But during that process of eating different, like I said, it started for me in 2013. A lot of things started happening. you know, a lot of awakenings started happening. A lot of rude awakenings, you know, started in my life once I've changed the stuff that I was putting in my body, you know, and I just really started, you know, studying. Like I've done a lot of studying, you know, on my solitude time. So I'm used to it. So the quarantine or whatever it is, it does not affect me in no form, shape, form, or fashion. So this I'm used to it. I'm used to sitting home, you know, 4 and 5 days out of a week, you know, before I go out into the public. So I mean, the quarantine, it does not affect me in no kind of way. You know, social distancing and all that. That's just who I am by nature, you know. But along with that, I've changed what I've been eating and things like that, and just, you know, got a lot of, like I said, spiritual awakening, real awakenings. So it doesn't bother me. So I can just speak for myself. So thanks for allowing me to share.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I just wanted to, you know, kind of give those perspectives and see how it's been affecting the each of us. You know, for me personally, um, I think that I've been feeling a sense of appreciation, you know, for it, just for a shutdown of things across the nation. I mean, I may sound rude to some people, but considering all things, I think it's a second chance for us to sit down and be humble. You know what I mean? Like a second chance for us to um, look at life and look at the quality of life and examine if where we've been or where we are is where we want to continue to be or go. You know what I'm saying? Like, or do we desire something different? You know, as everything that we have known has come to a sudden halt, you know, and a sudden screeching halt at that. Like, what has it put on your mind? Like, for me, it's just put on my mind, like I said, a reevaluation of everything, like my priorities, what's important, what's not so important, who is not so important. Can I survive without this or without that or without him or her? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the type of situations that we're looking at right now. You know what I mean? Like, so it's been sobering, I'd also add. It's been sobering. It's been enlightening because I've felt like as much as I've seen and much as I've studied over the years about things to come, it's nothing like being in the midst of it in real time and in an expedited version of what the story was told. You know what I mean? Like whatever story you've been told. But like seeing everything just unfold before your eyes is like surreal. It's disturbing, you know, in some regards, because a lot of people are not paying attention to the signs or to the facts, you know, that things are not going to return to normal. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but if you guys stop me if I'm wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Nope.
So it's just been a time of reevaluation and that I have felt appreciative, you know, for, because I feel like the Most High is calling us to look within, search our hearts, search our minds, you know, search our souls, correct areas of our lives, and increase in our love for one another so that we can get through this unscathed as much as possible. And if not unscathed, you know, like better off than most. You feel me? So I'm going to turn it over to Brother Knowledge and ask you if there were any comments or questions within the chat to read those with us or share your feelings and your thoughts about this coronavirus quarantine time. Okay, so you want to read that, Brother Kyle?
That chat there, if I can
Yes.
see it.
Oh, I can.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
313 Sada Baby says, I see the situation as neither a blessing or a curse. I view it as exposing false individuals and for the light bearers to come forth and step into their truth and power.
Ashe, I like that. I like that. How do you guys feel about that?
It's where I'm coming from. I kind of understand where she's going with it, but I also see the separation that the Most High has been making between his 2/3 and 1/3, and this, pandemic, if you will. I'm not ignoring it or being, you know, arrogant or egotistical or flippant about it, but this is the judgment on this country is being passed. It's playing out. So every time anyone of your elders or grandparents has ever said the last days, well, now, just as you had mentioned prior in your last statement, you're living in it in real time. You're seeing it now. Now, they didn't get a chance to see it in their lifetime because everything that was in the Most High's word wasn't for, it was always there, but it was meant for this time right now. So, depends on what and this is just me. I didn't say it's in stone, but it depends on what type of work you're doing. Are you following Yah? Are you following what he's telling you to do? Are you even doing something for somebody else? Because in the grand scheme of things, no matter what you do, just like we spoke of prior to this stream, you could have a ton of money and you can do for yourself. Your business is booming. You can treat yourself to something and do that, once, maybe twice, but you continually doing something for yourself, you're going to get bored very quickly. And that's when the trouble comes in. So what are you doing for somebody else? And it doesn't necessarily mean throwing a ton of money at a situation. Like, how are you helping the next person prepare themselves so they can better themselves, so they can go ahead and help somebody else in the manner of which you were able to help them, if that makes any sense to you.
Right. Sister, you have any comments to add to that?
I'm trying to read it. Well, can you read it again?
She said that I see the situation as neither a blessing or a curse. I view it as exposing false individuals and for the light bearers to come forth and to step into truth, to their truth and power.
Okay. Thank you, my sister. I agree. Like, I see it as an experience. For me, it's an experience. To see, like you said earlier, what do I want to keep and what do I want to get rid of? But yes, definitely, it's about exposing some stuff, man, that's been taking place for so long, and this is a new era of time now, so all will be well. All will be well.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Brother Knowledge, any other comments or anything? And if not, I'm going to segue into another thought.
Goddess Asha, you good to go. You are good to go. All right.
Awesome. So I was thinking, like, kind of based on what I've heard, everything that you all spoke about, referred to in regards to that comment, that we're all going to have a different experience, because it is an experience, but I feel like ultimately those people who are led by truth, righteousness, justice, freedom, love, primarily, we're going to find our way to the promised land. I'm going to say it like that, we're going to find our way to the promised land. And I think that even for our ancestors who have come before us, they have waited for this moment, for this time, and I find it to be an awesome time to rise up, you know what I mean? To rise up in the fullness of what the Creator intended for us each to be. And even if you haven't given it that much thought before, or even if you've been lackadaisical or you've been insecure, uncertain, too busy, whatever. Right now, I feel like I was mentioning earlier, is a second chance to elevate. You know what I mean? To like raise your consciousness and the consciousness of all mankind. Of all humanity, and for us who are going to rule to rise up in power and authority, in truth and love and light. Like again, in love, because that's going to be the thing that leads. You know, so contrary to every other memo that's been passed, mostly a lot of the memos that are out there are of selfish ambition, selfish gain. People just focus, like the brother mentioned, on themselves, but if you don't start to think about other people, you're not going to survive this. I mean, I'm just going to tell you straight up. If you don't think about others and how you can be of service and how you can serve the good of us all, you're not going to survive, because you're going to need faster than you can imagine. I mean, I'm not speaking a need upon you or anyone. I'm just saying that it's going to be divinely set up that way. Like you don't have everything. I don't have everything. So I have to therefore be willing to share what I have so that, there's enough to go around. You know what I mean? Like in the area of giftings or in the area of resources, it makes no difference really. Like what I have to give and what you may have to give could be two completely different things. But I think that we'll know when we cross paths, like what it is that we have to share with each other. And I hope somebody understands what I'm saying. Sister Yaba L, you have any comments, or Brother Kyle? I don't want to just be rambling on, but these are just some of my
No,
thoughts.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah. So I think in terms of reevaluation, have there been certain things that you've thought about, like before this time, Corona, or like just throughout your life experience, that you've had to reevaluate, no matter how tough they may have been, that you can just share with us? Maybe a couple of instances.
Are you talking to? Excuse me, you talking to me?
I'm talking to you. Yes, Goddess.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
What was?
talking to you.
I apologize for that. I'm in the days, but I'm listening. What was the question again? Was it anything in the past before the corona
Yeah.
virus?
Yes, I said that you had to adjust after you reevaluated, like you reevaluated something, in your life that was either positive or negative, and you had to readjust. I was saying just give a couple examples for like how you went about that after you determined you need to reevaluate something. Like basically any
Yeah.
changes you've had to make, no matter how painful or difficult they may have been.
Wow. Yeah, I've had I had quite many experiences. And you know what I've learned too, through this journey, that some experiences can't be explained. I mean, some things that I'm gonna say me, I'm gonna keep it on me. Some things that I've been through in life, you know, it just can't be explained, because it's just an experience, and also, what I know is um to be able to share certain information of people, to be able to share certain information with people, if God put it on my heart and my soul, man, it's for me. It ain't for me to go out and share every detail of my life, share every detail of my experience with people, because certain things, man, people look at you like you're crazy. So I just prefer to like keep it to myself, man, or just hopefully one day, I might run into a person, their mindset will be on the same mindset mine is, and I can be able to share that. But it's been a lot of things, that had me in the fetal position, um about uncovering the truth of things, uh, just being just having the veil lifted. I've been in many, many fetal positions, and yeah, so That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to take up the mic, but because I can go on, and I'm trying to stay calm. So because I get excited, so I don't want to get overexcited and get overwhelmed and stuff like that. So I just try to keep my questions or my answers to a minimum. Thanks
I
for
feel
allowing me to
that.
share.
I feel
Yeah.
that. But that was powerful in and of itself. I heard something that you said and it resonated really deeply with me. You said that sometimes it just had you in a fetal position, like just the unveiling of the truth. You know what I mean? Like the veil being lifted from your eyes. Um, Definitely. You know what I'm saying? Like I've had some pretty eye-opening experiences that are painful to experience, but nevertheless, they've made me um, a much more well-rounded person, I feel, and have given me a broader scope on life that I give thanks for, every day. So, Brother Kyle, how about yourself, beloved? Um, Along this journey of life, within these past few years, or if you want to go back any further, just some like pivotal moments that took place um, within your life that had you to reevaluate something or brought you into a different way of thinking. Do you understand the question? Well, before I bring him on, I'm going to read this. It says, I wholeheartedly agree with Goddess Asha Rae. Those who radiate the principles of Ma'at have been demonized and taken advantage of and taken for granted. That's some powerful truth right there, Um, the principles of Ma'at, that we were mentioning, like balance, truth, justice, righteousness, right order, basically just a balanced life. Um, Sometimes I think that due to the way that, yes, due to, oh, sorry, due to the way that we've been taught, like by many of our slave masters, we've been taught to neglect the things that come from our ancestors, I'm just saying. And so a lot of times we can't even expose the truths that are more ancient than the things that have been taught for these more recent years in these more recent religions and spiritual systems,
Sorry
but
about that.
yeah, that's okay. I was looking for you, brother.
Yeah, I kind of got knocked off. My apologies. My apologies.
That's okay. Welcome back. And my question was for
Mhm.
you, what has been your experience, like if you had to reevaluate something in your life, um, whether it had been like something recently or something in the past that was like difficult or enlightening or very deep, as an experience. Can you share one of those moments that caused you to reevaluate or that you had to reevaluate something? I don't know if I'm wording
Well,
the question
yeah,
correctly. I know what I'm trying to get to.
We understand. We got you.
I think I have understanding of what you're asking. I probably sum it up. If I'm too lengthy, then by all means stop.
Okay,
Um,
thank you. Come forward.
Within 2.5 years ago, I believe my father was getting ready to make a trip to visit friends and family in Maryland, DC, and New York. He left the barbershop shortly as I was entering it. Didn't catch him. He got home, gave me a call. Shortly after that call, felt a sharp pain under his left arm, shot across his chest. He drove himself into the hospital and found out that he had a heart attack. And after they assessed him and found out that's what it was, that was a blessing in disguise. It led to his open heart surgery. And I had to kind of stop and look at things a little bit differently, as my father is the last parent that I won't say just I do have a sister, the last parent that we have lived, and I had to look back on the disagreements and things that we had. We didn't see eye to eye all the time during my younger days, and I had to look at that. A lot of that was because when you are a parent and I'm not a parent myself, but I'm just saying it from that perspective. But I know that when you're a parent and you have children, and a lot of times you don't see eye to eye with your kids, it's because the similarities are so strong. It's like you're looking in a mirror and you're arguing, and you're looking in that same mirror and you're probably trying to get that point across, even though the child might not receive it as it's coming through, whether it's direct, whether it's sometimes corrective and in anger. And they're doing that 9 times out of 10 because they don't want you to go down similar paths that they have gone down that might have made their points in their life difficult. But you don't see that when you're younger. You know, you kind of grasp it when you're older. I had to stop and look at that and realize what that was, and even realize at the time that the loss of my own mother, I was 18 when that happened. But then years later, after that loss, and I got out of that little depression that I went through, I had to realize, number one, she wasn't in a hospital somewhere away from us. She was at home when she passed, when she took her last breath. 2, I had her for 18 years, which is more than what most people get a lot of times, because something could happen to the parent, you know, whether they separate or, you know, it's death takes a parent or parents away from that child at a young age, or at any other point in your lifetime. But sometimes you don't get that. I almost lost my mother 9 years prior to her death, but I had her for 18 years personally from my end. My sister, of course, had her longer because she was the firstborn, you know, of course. So, but I had to look at it from my perspective years later, in my later years. Like, I had my mom for 18 years. I'm pretty fortunate in having that. That's not too bad. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to look at those things in different ways and look at how I treated certain people, you know, in the course of me growing up and finding my way in this world as a man, not just out of my ability, whether it's my, you know, weight training, bodybuilding, whether it was my musical ability, finding my way as a man, you know, making sure that my character is intact, that will sustain me in any situation that, let's say, my talent brings me into. Because if your character isn't there, whatever your talent ability is, whatever arena that talent brings you into, if your character is not intact and it's not solid, it's not going to sustain you. And then people are going to see you for who you really are. So you have to make sure that privately and publicly your character is intact, you know, not just publicly. All right. So if that answers the question, I don't want to go too long. Take up too
fantastically. I think fantastically and very candidly. And I thank you for sharing that too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was dope. So when I was thinking about this show, I was thinking about the reevaluation of everything, because, you know, when your normalcy is disrupted or changed suddenly, it can kind of throw you off, or it can get you right on where you need to be. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to, like, hopefully put some food for thought out there for people to partake of and think about, you know, hey, what is important? What am I doing with this time? You know, am I stressing out? Am I spending my time in fear and worry and doubt and, you know, whatever, disgruntledness, confusion, whatever? Or am I going to take this time to be thankful, be loving, be knowledgeable, you know, get information, learn something, teach someone, you know, get back to what I love to do, you know, my art, my music, my creativity, whatever, things like that. So I'm going to read this comment, then I'm going to pass the mic. It says, like Yaba L said, this is most definitely an experience. Solitude is a must for soul growth. If you cannot love your own company, you don't have the capability to love yourself or others. And that's real.
A lot in that.
I need to read that more fluently. Like Yaba L said, This is most definitely an experience. Solitude is a must for soul growth. If you cannot love your own company, you don't have the capability to love yourself or others. And that's real. Well spoken, Sister Shada Baby or Sada Baby. And we appreciate you chiming in. Do any of you have any questions, any thoughts, or anything you want to share or want to talk about in terms of reevaluation?
No, I'm pretty straight with that. I don't want to take up any time. Just observing and listening. I
Okay.
get a little wordy, so like most
Okay, just checking with you. Sister Yaba, L.
I'll pass.
All right, well, I'm coming back around.
Okay.
And Brother Knowledge, you chime in anytime you would like, beloved. However, I was thinking about my own experience real quickly about about transition or like reevaluation. Several points, like the sister said, many different times in life, where you have to take a moment to reassess the situation. You know what I mean? Like it may look like one thing, but it could be a completely different. Like you even mentioned, Brother Kyle, you mentioned about like you thought these misunderstandings that you had with your father were legitimate, you know what I'm saying, or were like really something to be tripping off at that time, but in hindsight, looking back, you realize like, okay, I see, because you had to grow and you had to mature and you had to come into your own understanding. And that's very much like life, you know what I mean? Like in general, when you're younger and you're coming up and navigating through this thing, you can misunderstand a lot, or you can be taught and gung ho about a certain thing. You know what I mean? It's not until like you start to see the world for yourself,
right,
and come into your own and accept your own, that you can, you know what I mean, like really have understanding. And so I brought all that up to say that one of the hardest things that I ever had to face was spiritual growth in general, like just spiritual growth. Like I started out at a young age looking for the creator, looking for God, looking for the truth, you know what I mean? And I believe like at 9 years old or something, I accepted Christ into my life. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna tell this real story real quick because I just want to share this with you guys. So I was like 9 years old and I accepted Christ, you know, as my personal Lord and Savior. And in my innocent heart at that time, I thought that that was like the best thing for me to do, and I thought that that would lead me on the road towards heaven. Okay. And I don't know what you guys all think about heaven or whatever, but I'm saying at that time, that sounded like a place I wanted to go and be. Okay. And so, life has afforded me a journey. Then I studied Christianity the majority of my years growing up, became well versed in the Bible. I learned a lot, I learned a lot about love, sacrifice, humility, kindness to others, things like that, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful foundation, and I continued to grow and learn. And then that took me on into studying like with the Nation of Islam in my younger 19s and 20s, I felt like I was needing something a little more militant, something to reach the Black power side of me, or, the revolutionary spirit in me. So I'm like, I need something else. And I always read The Final Call from the time I was 12 years old. Because I felt like that was one of the only publications that spoke directly to quote unquote Black people, you know what I'm saying? Or people that look like me, going through this experience like me, in this country like me, so I started studying and reading The Final Call, and I felt like they were the other half of me, like a voice, speaking out on behalf of the people in the midst of all these other teachings, like love and, like I said, humility and patience and all these things, right? And so seeing the flip side of the world, especially around that time, as a young lady, like 12, 13, in my teenage years, I was a little confused, because it's like everything that I wanted to live by and go by and, experience like in the Christian world and faith was not my reality, was
Right.
not okay. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? I felt like, well, if I am the Christian I say that I am, that means I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of things I got to help change. I became overburdened, being honest, with
Right.
the way that of the world, with the way of the
Right.
world, and how, like, what would be my role? How could I help fix it? Like, I just want to be a soldier for you. I want to get out here. I want to help. I want to save the people. So, anyways, just coming into greater knowledge and understanding and like personal experiences with God and having a deeper relationship, being built through trial, error, struggle, confusion, like I mentioned, and just asking questions. It brought me to studying the virtues of Ma'at. Like I said, I want to research the most ancient thing I could find. You know what I mean? I was like, what are the origins of Christianity? So I was like, what's deeper? Is there anything, something that predates Christianity? So of course I found out about all these other religions and different things. And my world began to unravel. I just felt sick, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do? What? Everything I've learned, are you kidding me? All of my dedication, all of the time put in, and studying and reading. I mean, I was faithful, you know what I'm saying? Like, from my estimation, you feel me? Like, very dedicated, faithful to the cause and of growing as a Christian person and woman. And then but after going to college, and this wasn't until I was in college that I got information about, myself at all, knowledge of self. And, aside from the little teachings that they threw out there, sprinkled in school, you feel me?
Right. Right.
Couple of Martin Luther Kings and, Harriet
Mm-hmm.
Tubman, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, y'all, family, I'm not going to take too much time. I'm just going to get to the point of that this one particular reevaluation of like spiritual growth. It's a constant thing. It's been a constant thing in my life. I went from studying that as a Christian, then to the virtues of Ma'at and the laws of Ma'at. And then I went into cosmic consciousness, like looking outside and seeing everything and how it relates to one another and all of this. I studied science and spirit science and just everything, looking for answers. You know what I'm saying? Like something that could touch and soothe my soul. But it wasn't until I started thinking for myself. Oh, the power of your subconscious mind. I did a lot of studying with that. The power of your subconscious mind, the law of attraction, and like all these things come into my life. Like, I'm like, why? To shape and to shift and to cause me to reevaluate what I said I believe in, who I say I am, what I said I'm doing, but not to lose faith or lose, you understand what I'm saying? Not to lose your faith, but to strengthen your faith. Can anybody else speak to that? And I'm about bow out.
Okay. I'm just taking part of what you said and just expand on that just to touch. I think you started out the way most of us started out at a young age. You come into that experience in that physical building, wanting to fulfill that spiritual side. And I'm not going to come off the dome because I don't, not going to even try to do that. But that whole experience is fine, as you're trying to learn, but you always eventually run into, I want to say, yourself, and then when you're in those environments and you find out what it really is, how people are being misled, and a lot of times allowing themselves to be misled, mistreated, and abused spiritually, mentally, and financially being abused, with, the person who is supposed to be in charge of that house, that holds office in the house, is, you find out later on that they're just there for their own financial gain. And in this world, we've always, I'm of the era where, men dress like men. My grandfather was a jazz musician, band leader, and trumpet player, sharp, dressed to the nines. That's my tradition. That's how I've always tried to present myself, with the exception of what you see now. But never had a problem with people, especially my own people, looking good, doing well, prospering. But when it's at the expense of others, and you're telling somebody, well, sister or brother, if you don't do this, the Lord is gonna, if you don't tithe, the Lord is gonna curse everything you have, and they'll hit you with Job 3:10. Talking about, will a man rob God? But first of all, you're not robbing the Most High. Yeah, you can't rob anything if He owns it all anyway. So there's the problem right then and there. And if you can't pay your light bill, or your rent is due in 3 days, and you know the management gonna put you out, but you gonna take that and give it to somebody who's bypassing you at the bus stop in a chauffeur driven Phantom or Bentley, and you waiting for the number 4 bus, something ain't right there. Not saying that you have to have because this person has, but if it's at anyone's expense for your financial well-being, then brother, you got a problem. Sister, you got a problem. And that's exemplified in most of these pastors. And not to say anything about specific towns, like even in your town, Asha, everybody saw what happened to Eddie Long. I'm not going to expand on that one, but it's part of what I'm talking about. Everybody saw Creflo Dollar. Tell people, oh, go back to that church because that's my friend. Well, you're condoning the behavior of your friend who was taking advantage of these young men who you're supposed to look after spiritually and make sure that they grow up into men, and you're supposed to drop jewels on them so they can go ahead and become the men that they are, but you chose to take advantage of them in a sexual nature, and you paid the price for that. But everybody else will cover that up. So most of these people are predators instead of being protectors and being patriarchs or matriarchs, of the younger people who are supposed to be in your spiritual care, and you don't take care of them. You're just looking at a dollar sign. You understand what I'm saying? So, and I'm not just singling your town out. Your town happens to be one of the towns in the southern region with some of these mega churches are. Mine, I can say it. We're on live stream. I can say it. Nobody's going to say anything to me. My church, my hometown when I was in New York was CLC, now known as Christian Cultural Center. That pastor isn't as flamboyant as most that I've mentioned, but you on the same team, homie. And if you're coming at me from a platform of TBN, then we definitely got nothing to talk about, because all those cats are demonic. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm not gonna go too far into that, but you get where I'm coming from.
But wait, excuse me. I really appreciate you declaring and decreeing a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's unlawful, it's unlawful. And if it should be brought to naught, then that's what it should be. You know what I'm saying? And it's time for people to speak out on those things, And so I like having an opportunity to speak and get into the minds of the people. You know why? Because that's how we can help set each other free for real. You know what I mean? Like Jesus said, I came to set the captives free. You know what I'm saying? But then when he left or he departed or whatever, he said, greater works shall you do. You know what I mean? And greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. All these scriptures and quotes and things, like I had always wanted to see the action behind those words, the life to reflect those things that we say that we believe in who we are, so you just spoke to a lot by sharing that, and just, I don't know, we got to call a spade a spade. That's all I'm saying. You feel me? And we got to speak the truth and love. That's what this is. And that was just powerful. So thank you.
No problem. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yahweh L. What's going on with you, beloved? What's on your heart and mind? We're about to close out probably in about I don't know, brother. How much time do we have, brother Knowledge?
Got like 10 minutes.
I didn't see you
Okay.
for a minute there, brother. But you broke up.
Hey, I've been listening the whole time. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all
I think
make
that
it easy
Jasmine
for me.
Rice.
You know,
Yeah.
no,
Time. We're just doing a time
normally,
check.
yeah,
Yes.
normally I'm just out here by the door. You know what I'm saying? Normally I'm just
Escape.
out here by the door. Yeah,
Okay. Um.
be that good troop who sat by the door. I don't know nothing about the swoop. You understand?
All right.
We don't deal with nothing spooky. Yeah, yeah.
The gatekeeper. The gatekeeper.
Yeah. You know, the Bible talked about me. They said the cherubim with the flaming sword that turned in all directions that was stationed at the gate. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
So
right.
in regards to the culture keeper and the preserver of the legacy of authenticity and the sanctity of our families, I gladly stand the post. You understand? So the great minds like y'all can impart this information to the family. You know, reevaluate everything. You know, I think if I could say something, one of the biggest takeaways just being out in humanity is discovering humanity. You know,
Yeah.
peace. Yeah.
The
So
beauty and
that's a
depth
big
of it
takeaway.
all, right?
Right.
And
So
sorry about that.
go ahead.
No, I just it I'm not trying to go too left to center, but I even have to mention that, not for clout or name dropping or anything like that. In the beginning of the month of February, um, I lost my uncle, and my uncle Ronnie was a pretty renowned guitar player. He played for Jona Hendrix, like Family Stan, and a lot of other people. And he he made something very clear to me, as well as a few other cats who mentored me as a musician and as a man. But this cat came out of origins out of South Jamaica, Queens, was able to tour the world, play with all these great names, record with all these great names, his whole career. And he was always the same guy. He was always engaging. A lot of times you meet people of that stature because of who they're affiliated with, who they play with, who they're around in a business that's extremely wicked. This cat maintained his humility, was always engaging, and you just don't get that these days. You know, um, that's one of the things that I appreciated, and one of the things that helped shape me into, being the man that I am like right now. Am I, exactly where I want to be in this life? Not per se, but I'm not where I used to be, not to be cliche or anything like that. But he was an example of what you can do when Yah blesses you with a certain gift, and how you can still maintain your character even though all these great things are happening to you, and people know who you are and all of that. It doesn't have to change you when you interact with people. Some people, or you can't talk to, or even going back to coming out of any church experience, you go up just to say hello to your pastor, but you got 8, 10 dudes around him like Secret Service, so you can't speak to the person and at least just say hi to him because they got so many people around him chauffeuring him out to his Bentley. So, just as a side note, that's a rarity that you have people like that still to this day. That I'm thankful for. I just wanted to throw that in there. If that makes sense to you, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time.
Yeah, that's thank you so much, brother. Yeah, that's called, having values, morals and values,
Mm-hmm.
and but I want to, just Camelback off with Sister I can never pronounce your name, but I get it right one day.
Asha.
Asha. Yeah. So, like when I was in school, I always enjoy science and math. Those are my two favorite subjects. But unfortunately, well, it ain't unfortunately, because it's a new era time now, and everything that I was searching for, far as that took my interest was science and math back then. But now I must say that I'm learning. I couldn't learn it. I didn't learn it. It wasn't really taught, but it was taught. But I guess that my spirit wouldn't let me digest the teachings of science and math at that particular time. So, really getting in touch with the science and math piece today. Years later, I'm talking about over 45 years later. So I'm getting the energy, I'm getting the understanding, I'm getting the desire out of it that I've always wanted, as a kid, being in elementary, junior high school, so forth and so on. And I want to talk about when you talk about the, tie-ins, that the church talks about, Malachi and all those other verses that you brought up. And this was like the other day, for some reason that it came up in my spirit, in my mind. I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting up here tying at a church. They say tie 10%, right? Of whatever you get, you supposed to tie, quote unquote, 10%. And I'm sitting up here saying that I ain't tied 10% for all these years. Not no more though. I could have been, what I'm saying, in 10% in gold and silver.
Tell the truth. Shame the devil.
Not the paper, what I'm saying, not the fiat. I'm like, man, if I would've, but it ain't about coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's about what I'm learning and what I know and understand today.
That's
But
right.
it just took me back to, like, I'm sitting up here giving 10% every Sunday, what I'm saying? When I could have been putting 10% in gold and silver and platinum and copper and minerals. And I'm
Brother
like,
Wow.
Cal.
man, that's crazy, you know what I mean? But then also, I'm gonna tell you, man, like that church thing, man, and I ain't trying to knock nobody. I'm speaking for me. This is my experience. Man, it's been times like, because they say 10%, right? So every
Yeah, but
Sunday, you know what I
who
mean?
said it? Yeah.
Every Sunday, like I would give $20 every Sunday. You know what I mean? So, and it got to a point, see, because I'm getting hyped now, right? But it got to a point when I didn't have the $20 to go to church to put in the tithe. Guess what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't even go to church. That's some sick mindset stuff. But that's
Some
my
places send
experience.
you a bill now.
Yeah.
People have gotten letters
Like,
that
and I'm
they,
like, it, and it was so deep embedded, man, that I must pay a tithe, 10%. And when I didn't have it, I wouldn't eat, and I would feel so bad, but not today. My mindset, I'm past that, experience,
Free and
but
clear.
I learned from it, you know what I'm saying? I can look back, but I ain't got to go back, to any of my experience, man. I can always look back, but I ain't got to go back, and just know, like, this, we are on a journey. This is a journey for me and a lot of us, and it's not going to always be peaches and cream. Even in the midst of something that happened bad or look bad or sound bad, it looks and feel that way in that moment. But once I get to the other side of it, man, that can be the best thing that ever happened to me and for
Yes.
me, you know. So when I'm involved, what I'm saying, when my emotions and my feelings are involved on a deeper level, for me to miss the gift of it, you know what I'm saying? I can miss it. So embrace the good and the bad, because everything that look bad is that sound bad or look bad ain't always bad. It may look like that in a minute, in a moment, but once you get on the other side of it, it's gifts along. It come along with that, So but yeah, that's powerful, minded. When they say back in the day, I ain't hear the saying in a long time, but the mind is a terrible thing to waste. With
Mhm.
that, I'm done. Thanks for allowing me to share.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Brother Kai, I saw that she was bringing a few thoughts to mind. Please do share.
Yeah, I was just gonna say briefly, it's in with her experience and everyone else that have had that similar experience. Who told you, or who told me, or who told us that we were supposed to be bringing 10% every week to some house? Because people misconstrued um that particular scripture. I believe it was Job 3:10, thinking that the church, pastors would never get deep off into that, having people thinking the church was a storehouse. The church was never the storehouse, and the tithe wasn't money. The tithe was never money to begin with. And if I'm
That's
not
right.
mistaken, it was grain and food set aside for the Levite priests to nourish and sustain them, so they can do what they need to do, and in turn go ahead and then take care of people.
That's
You
right.
know, and I don't want to go too far because I don't have my book in front of me, and I don't like to try to come off the dome with that. You know, whether the scripture is ingrained in me or not, but you don't take from somebody and think that anything good is gonna come from it. But then again, also on the same side of the blade, you don't allow anybody to take advantage of it either. But once you know, you know. If you don't know, that's different. But even if you find out, it's never too late to change it. And sometimes people are so fearful that, you know, if I don't do this, the Lord isn't going to bless me. Well, the Most High isn't a investment banker, so this isn't a stock. You know what I'm saying? The only person that's coming off and profiting off of the multitude of people giving in tithes every week is the pastor that's there. You know, a church that I played for in this region that I will not mention. The administrator told me, "Well, yeah, we're getting the pastor's retirement package ready." Really? Are you really? You know, so he gets to retire. The rest of y'all, some odd, you know, 150, 250, 300, you know, folks up in here get to starve, you know, and go without because you're following somebody blind. And I ain't never been in a position, not to be callous or frank, but I will never call no grown man dad, especially if he's not my biological father, unless it's the heavenly father. You know,
Listen.
you did. So, you know, you didn't birth me, homie. Don't think I'm calling you right, dad. And then everybody's behind him doing that church spiritual two-step from side to side. And, you know, no, thank you. No, homeboy. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work
That's
that way.
real. Listen, I knew something was fundamentally wrong when the church had to be shut down. You feel me? Like during this coronavirus time. Like, you mean to tell me that there was not enough faith that they could assemble in the? Yeah, I'm not. But I
No,
mean, I'm
because
just gonna leave that alone.
it's not bringing a profit. So no, that's not gonna
And plus, um, it goes to show you who rules. You know,
happen.
if there's a real separation between church and state, then the state would not run the church. You feel me? But that's another
Well, I mean,
topic.
yeah, technically they kind of fall right in line because most of the churches, like most business entities, they're business entities. So if you have that 501c3 status, you're a business,
Exactly.
you're a corporation, and you have to
Right.
follow certain state guidelines, or else you risk that extra funding coming in. And if you don't follow other guidelines, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna have to go back and research this again because I don't like to put it out there. But the good brother Yash Karai once put in one of his radio shows. He said there was a pastor, I think it was Virginia, and two a same-sex couple, I don't know if it was two guys or two women, came in, told we want to be married. Pastor said no. They complained. And then he was
They
about to
find
lose his
them, right?
status. So yeah, so what do you do to get out of that? This pastor actually happened to be righteous. He burned the church down, almost similar to a band that doesn't want to be in their music contract. Dissolve the band. Well, you have to live with this contract. Well, the band's no longer together, so what do you want me to do? Well, in this case, he took a cue from David Byrne and the Talking Heads, and he burned down the house. You know, and
Hey,
yeah, what can you do? And obviously he didn't have to fulfill those requirements of that 501c3. So a lot of times, all of these things that you get or these subsidies, they can work and they cannot work. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how you want to do it. You know, some things can work to your advantage if you know what you're doing. And I'm not trying to tell people or discourage people from that. If that works for you, fine, that works for you. Build your business and prosper your family and then teach somebody else. But if it doesn't work for you, then don't bother. Everything's not always about the dollar, you know, but that's what we've always been taught. And I'll make reference to this and then raise up off of it. I asked somebody this question one time. I came from an era when the show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was extremely prominent on television. And I used to look at that show and say to myself, is this show designed to show you what's possible and inspire you when you have a successful business or you're operating and you're generating decent amount of money? Or was it made to make fun of and mock those who probably may not ever see that amount of resources in their lifetime or even experience any of those amenities that come along with having those vast resources to that degree? You understand what I'm saying? So which was it? You know, I was fortunate when I was a kid because of my family being such a family involved in arts and music and, you know, people around them. I was able to see and experience some of those things at a young age. That's why even as I got older, as much as we emulate things we see and people we admire, we want to emulate that. It didn't necessarily wasn't a priority for me to do what some of my peers tried to do on the corner because they saw, just as example, they might have saw the Al Pacino remake of Scarface and they wanted to do that. You understand what I'm saying?
right.
And that wasn't impressive to me, you know, wasn't impressive to me to be doing that or trying to live that life when I had pretty much what I needed and some of what I wanted, you know. So yeah, let me raise up off it. I don't want to go too far left.
Thanks for sharing, beloved.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
much appreciated. Sister Yaba L, any closing comment or any words of wisdom you want to leave the people with in regards to reevaluation?
Know thyself. Get to know yourself. Get to know yourself. It's a journey. It's a process. Some of it may look good, feel good. Some of it ain't going to feel good, look good. But just get to know yourself. Take time out and know who you are and love yourself so you can love others. And stand on principles, man. You know. So thanks for allowing me to be here tonight. I enjoyed myself, and I will pass.
I'm so grateful that you joined us and shared with our audience the insights of your experience and the, you know, beauty of your journey. Thank you. And the same to you, Brother Kyle. Like, I definitely appreciate you opening up and being a vessel, you know, to share to the people because we have a lot that we can impart, you know, through this journey and through different lessons learned. If we share that wisdom, you know, we can probably help somebody along the way. And that's what this is about. So I thank you again for your kindness and your willingness to open up and share with the
Thank you
people
for
tonight
having
as
me.
well.
Appreciate you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Brother Knowledge Born Allah behind the scenes, holding the door steady, you know, holding the post.
Gatekeeper.
Definitely want to thank you too for you know, chiming in and coming to the platform and, you know, sharing with the audience what you feel this golden opportunity is, a time like this, what type of time it is to be alive and for things to be well and to be well with you, your soul, and your people, your creator, and your essence. I mean, that's what I gather from you. So I thank everybody who chimed in as well via the Facebook platform, YouTube, or wherever you're listening. We thank you for your love, light, insight, and for sharing and for, taking of your time. I want to leave you with words of, I would say for reevaluation, I would say that you don't have to be afraid of change. You don't have to be afraid of what you don't know. I think it's more dangerous not to know than to know, oftentimes. And I feel like if you ask, you will receive. If you seek, you will find. If you knock, the door will be open unto you. And if you ask, you shall receive. So that still holds steady and that holds true. And as we go through these trying times and these difficult, life experiences and things that are out of our control, we have to have some type of peace within, to know that we're going to be all right. And if you are facing fear or trepidation or uncertainty, go in and find answers, seek answers, get quiet, get into meditation, get into prayer, get into solitude, like the sister mentioned, and find yourself. You're going to find the answer, you're going to find a solution. And then you give thanks, give thanks to the Most High for always being there, the source, the creator, whatever you call, your higher power, in my opinion. But stay knocking, stay seeking, and stay asking. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. We love you. Peace.
All right, one.
Peace. How you come off this thing, girl?
You just leave.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank
I
you.
appreciate you, Goddess.
I appreciate you too, my sister Goddess. I'm gonna call you tomorrow so we
Okay.
can work on that other part of that stuff.
All right. Ashe.
I say.
Again, family, thank you for tuning in. It's been another edition of Do the Knowledge Radio with your host, Knowledge Born Allah. I'm your sister Goddess Asha Rae, signing off for another Golden Opportunity Sunday. Till next time, y'all stay up.